Welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another malicious compliance Reddit video. In our first story, HR tried to get rid of my dad right before he was able to get his pension. Let's jump right in. My father worked for a Forbes 500 company since the 70s, moved up the ranks as a software engineer in management, has patents for the company that saved it millions of dollars. He's almost to pension age, and suddenly HR starts making his life miserable. He noticed this trend was happening to some of his coworkers when they were getting close to age 60 as well. The HR lady calls him into the office and says that he was not punching in and out at the correct time. My father, an engineer, is very detail-oriented. He knew that these were false accusations and asked HR to prove it. They came back a week later and couldn't prove it, and he said, "Of course you can't. I have been driving the corporate carpool bus from a major city 40 miles away from the company for the last 15 years. I always have 16 witnesses on my clock-in time, and I haven't been late in 15 years. The HR lady came back a week later, and they said that they were going to fire him for letting people into the building without badging. He asked to see when and where he was letting someone into the building without badging. They showed that he held the door for his best friend, who had also been working there since the 70s, who had his foot cut off after having type 2 diabetes. He was in a wheelchair. Prior to this, my dad took the chief of security out for lunch and told him about how this company wanted him to leave before he got his pension, so he got some footage of his own. My dad said, "That is very interesting. You are going to fire me for holding the door for my best friend of 35 years after his foot was amputated and he was in a wheelchair. Fine. Then I hope you fire the CEO and yourself as well." He then proceeded to show footage of the HR lady holding the door for his friend and the CEO holding the door for his friend. My father ended up staying there until he got his pension. Edit number 1. I don't know his finances, and he probably wouldn't have lost the whole pension, but there was a definite financial difference from being fired prior to reaching age 60 and making it to age 60. Edit number 2. So this blew up so much that my brother, who didn't know I was on Reddit, texted me and said, "You are Reddit famous. That's a story about Dad. I knew this was you." Also, some of you are wondering why a software engineer would have to clock in and out. Well, he didn't. I meant to use the word badge in and out of the building. They went that far, to talk with security to see his badge timestamps. There are more things that led to this getting bad, and I didn't want to write pages and pages, but it definitely escalated to this point. Lastly, for those of you that have been saying that my dad must have worked there as a child, this whole thing happened roughly 9 years ago. My father is 68 right now. If you want to know what company it was, this sentence is the most general hint I can give you, but it may drive people from that company to be mad at me. Final update, Dad quit that job a while ago and made his own company in his retirement. He has used his own money to patent a new invention that desalinates seawater and provides clean solar energy. He has patents for this in America, India, and China, and is looking for some capital to provide clean water and power to third world countries. If interested in helping him build his first power plant, please send me a message. Story number 2. My meal must be salt-free. This story is from a dinner party I hosted before the pandemic. I invited 6 folks, and shortly after the invites were sent, I received a call from Sally. Sally, not her real name, advised me that she was now on a salt-free diet due to medical reasons. She advised that at home she cooked without any salt and gave me a speech about how wonderful salt-free life was. I was skeptical and advised her that I would personally find it difficult to give up all salt. Was she sure she wasn't just on a low-sodium diet? Sally advised that unless her dish was salt-free, she wouldn't be attending. While telling her no was an option, I'm not that person. See my previous malicious compliance. I was pissed off at Sally for years of being difficult at the dinner table in restaurants. Trust me, there was always something wrong with her meal, or its preparation, or the flavor, or the waiter, or With a smile so large you could hear it through the phone, I assured her that her request for salt-free was 100% going to be accommodated. On the dinner night, I prepped the meal. Sally was getting the same thing as everyone else, with one critical difference. All of her food was prepped in separate containers, baked on separate racks, and seasoned with exactly the same flavors, sans salt. Dinner time and my guests arrived. I have all of Sally's food plated on white plates. Everyone else gets gray plates. First round, appetizers, fried calamari with a lemon jalapeno butter sauce. This dish typically has salt in both the batter and the sauce. As Sally couldn't have that, I battered her calamari in salt-free seasonings and flour. Her condiment looked exactly the same, but was made with unsalted butter and no added salt. I placed Sally's plate in front of her first, and she immediately states she asked for salt-free. I assure her that her dish is salt-free, and I made sure to cook hers separate and even use a different colored plate to keep it straight. We all sit to talk and enjoy the squid. Sally takes a bite and makes a face. "Mine has no flavor," she exclaims. All of my other guests tell Sally it's divine, delicious, best they've ever had, etc. I smile at Sally and assure her that her dish was flavored exactly as everyone else. The only difference is that she received absolutely no salt. It's at this point that Sally has a moment of clarity. It's painfully obvious on her face. She realizes she can't complain about the lack of salt as she's already told the table about her salt-free life. She also can't claim it tastes terrible if everyone else is raving about the food. She literally looks like she was about to cry at the table. As my guests enjoy their dinner, Sally is slowly doing the toddler plays with her food, munch, and pushing her calamari around the plate. After a few moments, she reaches for the sauce that I made for everyone else. "Sally, be careful, the salt-free sauce is in the white bowl. That one has salt." She mumbles something about wanting to taste the difference before literally dumping the bowl on her calamari. She then exclaims how much better it tasted. You and I know that, of course, things taste better with salt. So this drama repeated itself over the main course of honey-roasted salmon with pine nuts. I'm also no heathen and had both salt and pepper on the table for my guests. I'm not going to judge you for needing more flavor. Here we go. Sally again takes a bite of her fish and once again realizes that it has no salt. She reaches for the salt shaker and conversation stops. Another guest asks Sally if she was okay with adding salt to her food. She says that she can occasionally have salt. She then proceeds to shower her fish with salt sprinkles. I also baked some cookies for dessert. The dough uses a little salt. I made sure to whip up a separate batch of cookies wrapped to go for her. Salt-free, of course. When I handed her those cookies, the look of defeat that hit her face warmed my heart. Dinner is over. Everyone is happy except for Sally. I called her the next week to make sure she was okay, as she'd consumed sodium at my party. Sally told me her doctor has removed her sodium restrictions and she won't need that accommodation at future meals. On the phone, I congratulate her for her good health. When I hang up, I laugh until my sides hurt. Salt-free life apparently doesn't taste good when the salt is actually omitted. Note to any on a low or no sodium diet for their health, I commend you. Sally, however, wasn't actually on this diet. This is evidenced by her shock at how salt-free food tasted. I confirmed with her husband that she's never stopped using salt at home. Her salt-free claims were a ploy for attention that backfired tastelessly. Common question, why are we friends? Sally is married to one of my best friends. As my friend has elected to stay married to her, I have tolerated her. I wouldn't call her a friend, but we are where we are. Comment, I'm loving the responses here. I truly empathize with those living with medically restrictive diets. Life is hard enough without that being added into the mix. This is funny and I'm sharing it with Sally's husband. He needs to get some first-hand knowledge of all the reasons claiming false dietary restrictions just isn't okay. And I want to be clear, never tamper with someone's food. This malicious compliance worked because no harm could come to Sally. This is John from /bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to be the first to know when the next one drops, then subscribe and make sure you click on the notifications bell so that YouTube will actually show you my videos. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.